Have you ever met somebody for the first time, or maybe even known them for a little while, and they just are exhausting? They can't wait to tell you what they've done lately. They can't wait to tell you how successful they are. You know, they have to be the center of attention in the room full of people. They gotta be, you know, say, everybody look at me, look what I've done lately. I used to own a pool service, and I've met some very interesting people over the years. I knew this guy for many, many years. He had been my client for, well, eventually he was my client for over 20 years, but I'd had him for probably a good 10 years, 12 years. And every now and then he'd ask me if I could help him with certain things. And one time he came to me and he said, "Dave, could you come inside? I need to move something. I need some help." And I'm like, "Yeah." So I went inside in the house, and we were going down the hallway, and I just happened to glance up and I noticed some pictures of baseball players, whatever, and didn't think much about it. I figured maybe they saw somebody, knew somebody that was a baseball player, whatever. And anyway, fast forward about a year later, I was outside doing the pool. I was doing their pool, and the wife came out. We were talking about something came up about something, and I said his name was Bert. I said, "So where's Bert?" And she said, "Oh, he's inside watching the World Series." I said, "Oh, I didn't know he liked baseball." And she said, "Oh yeah, Bert loves baseball. You know, he used to be a professional baseball player." I said, "What?" She said, "Yeah, he was, back in the day, he played for, I can't remember who he played for now, because I'm not a real baseball fan, but anyway." She said, "Oh yeah, he played professional ball for many years." I said, "Oh, I never knew that. I can't believe he's never told me about that." She goes, "Well, you know, Bert's a very modest guy." And I said, "I know, but you would think that he would, you know, because the guy was almost there every time I did the pool. And we would talk. And we talked about everything. And I just couldn't believe that he never mentioned that he was a baseball player, a professional baseball player." So I'm going to get him back. So I came to do the pool one day, and he came outside to talk to me like he always does. So we're talking, and I said, "Hey, Bert." So I said, "You've been watching this World Series?" He goes, "Oh yeah, it's pretty good, blah, blah, blah." I said, "So you like baseball, huh?" He goes, "Yeah, oh yeah, I love baseball, man." I said, "You ever play baseball?" He said, "Yeah, I played a little baseball here and there." I said, "Really?" I said, "When'd you play baseball, Bert?" He goes, "Well, you know, I don't know. I played a little, I played a little bit here and there." The guy wasn't coming forward with it. I said, "Bert, I talked to your wife. Why didn't you ever tell me you were a professional baseball player?" He goes, "Oh, that was a long time ago. It's no big deal." I said, "Are you kidding me? No big deal?" Anyway, I guess my point is, some people in life just don't need that validation that they've done something really cool, or that they're looking for someone to really, or they're looking for some kind of a, I don't know, that they're looking for something. They're not braggadocious. They're not all about, look at me, look what I've done. I mean, the guy was so modest. I mean, he had never told me, and I think I'd been doing his pool at that time for like 15 years. Never said a word. Never said one word about it. Anyway, I just thought that was very interesting that the guy never said anything about that. Another time I was working on a pool, and this guy comes out. Now I met the wife several times, but never met never met her husband. He was always working, evidently, because I never saw him. But every now and then, she was a stay-at-home mom, so I'd see her. I would see her and the kids. Well, one day he comes walking out. Now, I've never met the guy. I've been doing the house for years. The guy comes walking out and goes, "Hey, what size shoe do you wear?" I said, "Oh, like a 10, 10 and a half. Turns around, walks away. Comes back with a pair of the toe shoes, you know, the ones where you put your toes in. This was, 15 years ago, whatever. Well, I guess when they first came out, they were real popular. And they were a name brand, very expensive shoes. And he goes, "Here, you can have these if you want them. I got them and I don't want them, and I don't, so I've never worn them. I just put them on and they're not me. If you're interested." I said, "Yeah, how much you want for them?" He goes, "No, I don't want anything for them. Just take them. They're yours." And I said, "Well, why don't you just try and take them back to the store you got them from?" He goes, "Well, yeah, it's not a big deal." Now this guy lived in like a multi-million-dollar home. He goes, that's no big deal. I work there, so it's not that big a deal. So I said to him, when he said I work there, now I'm thinking, look at the house you're living in and you work there? I said, you work there? So you work at, now this particular sports store that he worked at, I don't know if I mentioned that he worked at a sports store, very popular in the malls. So you might know who I'm talking about. He goes, yeah, I work there. I said, okay, well, take him back. It's not that big a deal. You can have him. I said, so you work there? I'm pressing the guy now. So you work there? He goes, well, I'm the CEO. Never knew it. Never had an idea that he was the CEO of this big company. But there he was, the CEO of this big company. Anyway, I ended up wearing those shoes for a long time. And yeah, they were okay. But they weren't my thing either. Come to find out, they really weren't my thing either. So, but yeah, some people just don't need to advertise what job they have, what they do. They're not looking for praise. They're not looking for some kind of their ego. They don't have that big ego. Another one of my clients, probably one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my life. Now this guy, well, let's just put it this way. He was a lead singer for a band, a rock band. And if you take the top 10 bands of all time, I'm not gonna say who he is, but I probably shouldn't say who he is. Did I sign an NDA? Did I sign anything? We'll just leave it there. One of the top 10 bands of all time. They're in there. Not in the top 3. He wasn't in the top 3, but he was in the top 10. And he wasn't number 10. So we're narrowing it down. But you do your own math. Anyway, this guy was the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. Now, I got the job through somebody else that a big contractor that I knew that built multi-million-dollar homes. And that's how I got the contract. That's how I got this guy's pool. Because I did his pool, the contractor's pool, and he said, I got the pool guy that you need. And I went and I talked to the assistant, and she asked me if I could come back on a certain day and a certain time. I said, sure. I thought it was gonna all go through the assistant. And I had no idea who this guy was at the time when I went to bid on the pool. But the contractor's foreman took me over there, and we're walking in the backyard, and the guy happened to be in the pool. And he said, hey, so-and-so, this is Dave. He's gonna look at your pool. Dave, nice to meet you, man. Very nice to meet you. Make yourself at home. I'm just relaxing in the pool right now and having a moment. He liked to read. He's always reading in the pool, sitting in the shallow end, reading in the pool. And I told the foreman as we walked away, I said, why didn't you tell me that was so-and-so? You could have told me. He goes, well, kind of keep it on down low, so don't tell anybody, just keep it to yourself. I'm like, no problem. I mean, but you know, hey, I know who the guy is. So anyway, fast forward to the assistant. The assistant calls me and says, can you be here at a certain time? I said, I sure can. Figured I was just gonna have another meeting with her. So I knocked on the door, on a side door, not the main door, but another door she told me to go to. So I knocked on the door. I'll have the gate open for you because there was a privacy gate. I'll have the gate open. Just come on in and knock on the side door right there by the garage. Okay, no problem. I knock on the door. She comes to the door. Okay, here's my estimate. Here's what I'm going to do what I can do for you. If you guys want me, let me know. She comes to the door and she goes, hang on a second. And he came down. He came down and talked to me like a normal person. Didn't talk down to me. We had a good chat. We talked for a long time. It was like we were old buddies. We talked about everything. And he just was kidding around, joking with me, took me in his garage, showed me his cars, and we just had a good old time. Well, after that, I'd see him every now and then when he was in town because, you know, sometimes they were touring. But when he was in town, he would come out and talk to me, my son. My son worked with me every now and then. He'd come out and talk to me and my son, just chit-chatting, even sang to me one time. And the guy was the most modest, down-to-earth guy one of the most down-to-earth and modest guys and funniest guys. The guy was funny as hell that I ever met in my life. Just a sweet man. And he even told me one time, he said, you know, Dave, I own a house here in the United States. I own one over here and over there. You know, but it's not about all that. He goes, you don't know how thankful I am. Every day, every day I wake up and I am appreciative of what's happened to me in my life, and I am so thankful. I'm a lucky guy. Anyway, another guy that had that kind of status, that kind of money, but was just one of the sweetest, kindest, nicest people you'd ever want to meet. And then you got the opposite. You got opposite of that. You got some that I work for that were just complete jerks. Just complete jerks. Treated you like crap, talked down to you, you know, treated you like you were just a peon, like you were nothing. And I never understood it. I never understood, you know, why you have to feel, how you have to treat people like that. I didn't give a crap. I was getting paid every week. I mean, I was getting paid. I don't care. Treat me like, I don't, whatever you want to do. I wouldn't let anybody take advantage of me or abuse me, because then I'd just walk away. I would just walk away. Because that's what you can do when you own your own business. I was a sole proprietor of my own business. And I was doing pools because I'd own other companies with employees. And I thought, you know, when I sold my last company, I thought, you know, I'm going to do something. I'm getting bored. I'm going to do something. I need to make a little bit of money, but you know what? I don't want any employees. I want to do it myself. I just want to do this all myself. And that's what I did. So I got into pools. There's a whole story behind that, but I started doing pools and repair work and cleaning pools by myself. And then before I knew it, the business started growing and then growing and growing and then growing. But I kept going. I just did enough for myself. I didn't want any employees. And that ended up being over 20 years I did that. But I met some fascinating people. And I'm probably going to share some more stories because I learned a lot of lessons in all the years of doing pools. You never know what you're going to learn. No matter what trade you're in or what job you have, you can easily learn lessons in anything you do, no matter what it is. I learned a lot about people. Like Bert, who never told me he was a fucking baseball player for all those years. I can't believe it still boggles my mind why he never said anything to me about that. And this other guy, this lead singer for this band, was just, you know, you think they're going to be uppity and they're not going to, you know, they're going to have this huge ego. No. This guy had no ego. This guy had one of the top 10 bands in history, in one of the top bands ever. No ego, zero ego. The guy was just the nicest, kindest, sweetest man I've ever met in my life. And it just, you know, gave me hope for people, because some people can be such jerks. I mean, I meet so many jerks in my life. And I just think, why? Dude, why? You know, just why? I just don't understand some people. I don't get it. And not that it really matters, and I'm not complaining about certain things, but I mean, I have another little story about a guy I had him for like 10, 15 years. And I don't know how I found out, but I found out that he was the CEO of a huge liquor company. I'm gonna say who it was. Let's just say it was rum. I'm gonna narrow it down. So it was one of the top brands of rum ever, okay? You do the math. Anyway, not that it matters, and don't take this the wrong way, not that it matters, but every Christmas would come around, no bonus, no nothing, 0.0. And that's okay, I don't care. You know, sometimes I'd rather someone come out and say to me, Dave, you're doing a great job. I just want you to know you're the best pool man I've ever had. I'll take that before I would take a bonus sometimes. And I don't even need a bonus, man. Just give me a little something for Christmas. It's nice. You know, appreciate it. But you would think this CEO of this rum company had access to all the rum he wanted. You think that he would have come out and said one time to me, do you drink, Dave? Hey, do you drink? And he was a nice guy. His wife was wonderful. Very nice people. Very nice. Treated me very kind. But you think that maybe once he would have come out and said, hey, man, do you drink? By any chance do you drink? And I would have said, I surely do. well, here's a bottle of rum for you. Merry Christmas. And I would have been like, oh, cool, cool. But no, I'll take that back. Take that back. I had him for over 15 years, and one Christmas, he brought me a bottle. He finally brought me a bottle. After 10 years or 12 years, whatever it was, he finally got me a bottle of his rum. The CEO. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not complaining. I'm not saying you would think. I mean, if I was the CEO of a big company, I'd be giving stuff away. That takes me back to Mr. Lead Singer. I had just gotten this when I got the account. It was right before Christmas, like weeks before Christmas. Now his other pool man, he'd had it for over 20 years, and they had a falling out or something happened. And anyway, I ended up getting the pool. So I started his pool right before Christmas. Do you know that he came out one day, right when I was doing the pool, a couple weeks before Christmas, and said to me, "Dave, do you drink?" And I said, "I sure do." He said, "Now, what do you prefer, Dave? Do you prefer whiskey or vodka, or what do you like?" And I said, "Well, you know, I like a little bit of everything, but you know, whiskey's good." Hang on a second. Walks inside and comes out with this huge package, a bottle of whiskey. I'll tell you whatever. It was some whiskey and the cups and the whole kit. It was like a whole kit. It said, "Merry Christmas." And as he's giving it to me, I don't know why, not too sure to this day why, but his wife was in the corner. There was a window right there on the lanai because I'm out by the pool with him as he's handing me this. And I happened to notice his wife had the door open, and she was filming this whole thing. She was actually filming it with her camera. And she had the biggest smile on her face. I don't know what they did with that. I should find out. So get some royalties from that video if they used it for something. But I still to this day, I'm wondering why she, I don't know why she did that. But anyway, not that it matters. It's not about material things. It's not about money. It's just about being kind, being nice to your pool man. That's all. So if you got a pool man, be nice to him. Give him a little something, something. I mean, we used to give the mailman something, the garbage guys something every Christmas, and we didn't make any money. We made, you know, and that's another thing is I found out in life, I had multi-millionaires for clients, and I had people that were struggling, or on middle class or lower middle class, just getting by. Regular job, just getting by. And do you know, I have to say, after doing pools for 20 years, that some of my biggest tips and consistent tips every Christmas, they never missed a Christmas, was from the workers, the ones that were the lower middle class and were just getting paycheck to paycheck, just making it paycheck to paycheck. Those are the ones that gave me the most money, except for a few. A few of the upper ones gave me some more money. But anyway, they were the majority of the ones were consistent every Christmas, gave me a bonus, gave me a nice little bonus. And it usually amounted to a whole month of what I charge them and more. I don't know. Some people though, some people are just, I don't know. I just don't understand some people. But you know, I guess if everybody was the same, it wouldn't give me anything to talk about. It wouldn't give me something to talk about on my YouTube channel here. See, I've got content for now. And I got a bunch of stories I'm gonna share in the future with you, because I've got some interesting stories, some more stories for you. So stay tuned to the channel, and you know what I'm gonna say. Give me a thumbs up and like the channel and subscribe if you haven't. It's free. It's free. Doesn't cost anything. You don't have to give me bonuses. You don't have to buy me a coffee. You don't have to do any of that. Just subscribe. See, I'm not asking for much. You don't have to give me anything. No Patreon, no buy me a coffees. Just subscribe. All right, I'll see you guys.